All right, all right, all right, all right. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. We are doing another casual calibration today. So we got some stuff to talk about. I'm trying to decide what direction I kind of want to go with my channel. I know I want to keep doing the geopolitics and stuff, and I'm going to keep covering Ukraine and all of that stuff. But I think I'm going to change up my live streams. I think I'm going to continue doing these casual calibrations. I like them a little bit more. They're a little bit more interactive with you guys. And then I'm going to do map update videos that I post online as videos and not as live streams. So you'll be able to go check out those map updates. That doesn't mean that I won't do map updates on these streams, or at least go on the map and talk about some things that are going on or anything like that. But just specifically, I think that 30 minutes or so at the beginning of the episode where I don't really engage and I'm just staring at my map is not the best way of going about things. So I'm going to try to mix it up. I would like to know your guys' opinions on that. You're going to have to talk about Qatar, right? Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to talk about that. Are you kidding? That's huge news. Of course I'm going to talk about that. All right. All right, guys. All right. Welcome in. This is episode 2 of Casual Calibration. I am your host, Scott, of course. Remember, guys, if you have any questions that you want answered, or you just want to support me and the Calibrated show, you can do so through super chats and super thanks. I do read all of those. So if you get your questions in that way, they will be answered, and I do appreciate the support. Other than that, you guys are more than welcome to put your questions up in the chat log, and I will get to them if I can get to them. I appreciate you all so much. You guys, just because this isn't the normal Calibrated show doesn't mean you can't tell me where you're from. I see that Resident is here from Pakistan, of course. And I would like to know where the rest of you guys are from, if you don't mind. I appreciate knowing where you guys are at. So Sweden, nice, nice, nice. I'm just going to go retweet my live stream real quick on Twitter, and then we will go ahead and just get right into it. Live now. Bob. All right. Let's see. California, Slovenia, California, Hungary, Florida, Croatia, California, via New York, Sevastopol, from my mom. Come on, bro. Hello from Russia. Hello, Greenland. Nice. I'm watching Garen's as we speak. Which actually, for those of you who don't know, who are maybe not following me on Twitter or Telegram as closely as you maybe should, there is a large-scale Russian missile and drone strike that will be occurring across Ukraine tonight. So that will be news in the next episode. Bombers are airborne. Garen drones are flying over Ukraine. So we are looking at another strike day. So that's something coming up. Don't forget, guys, if you are new here, to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are old here, I expect that you have already liked and commented, but that's okay if you haven't. I like it. Everybody's in here. Let's see. Vancouver, Tucson. Nice. Massive attack incoming. Yes, I do believe so. Okay, let's get into it. We got some stuff to talk about today. I'm going to be reading. We're going to just start with Israel because there's a lot going on with Israel right now. They haven't really been in the news as much lately outside of their normal mischief that they're up to in Gaza and so on, stuff like that. Killing journalists, hitting hospitals, that sort of mischief. Outside of that, no real big news lately until today. It appeared as though the Hamas negotiators, potentially the U.S. delegation and the Israelis, were getting somewhat close to a promising ceasefire proposal. And as I've talked about multiple times, and as I'm pretty sure I ranted on in the last casual calibration, The U.S. and its vassals, whether Israel is a vassal or not, is a debate, but cannot be negotiated with. We cannot be reasoned with. We should not be listened to. We should not be trusted. You should never, if you are a foreign actor dealing with the U.S. in any diplomatic way, you should never let them know where you are at, because there is a 93% chance that we will assassinate you at some point. It's just sort of, it seems like the way we like to do business is we try to negotiate with people. And then in the middle of those negotiations, we do some absolutely moronic action that will definitely come back and bite us in the ass in some way in the future, to try to get ahead or to leverage those negotiations in some way. Last week, we saw the report come up about the SEAL team that ran an operation off the North Korean coast in 2019 while President Trump was in country visiting with Kim Jong-un. They fired upon a civilian fishing vessel, which had uncovered their operation, killing all of those civilians on board. I believe it was something like 15 North Korean civilians were killed in that operation. The operation was then scuttled, and the SEAL team went back to the submarine that they had deployed from and vacated the region. But again, this just goes to show you that this is a textbook U.S. maneuver. We set up negotiations, we act like we're working towards something, and then we pull up the rug out from under you and either assassinate you or do something else unpredictable, like blow up your nuclear facilities or try to install a listening device to overthrow your regime, or like in Venezuela, it was more than that, 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was during Trump's first presidency. We saw the special operations team get caught by the Venezuelan military trying to land in Venezuela, probably trying to do some sort of regime change stuff down there as well. This is not new. This is not something that I'm just coming up with now. This is not my genius idea. The U.S. cannot be trusted in diplomacy. They cannot. It's just that simple. We watched as we were trying to be diplomatic with Hamas through Iran. The Hamas negotiators were then assassinated in Tehran. This was before the strikes that the U.S. was involved in and stuff like that. This was back in 2023, or I believe, or 2024. And it led to the first true promise, right? Or the second true promise, one of them. I'm not exactly sure. I know one was the strike on the Syrian or on the Iranian consulate in Syria. That was one of the true promises. And then the strike in Tehran on the Hamas negotiator was the other one. But that's besides the point. Just going to show that during negotiations, the U.S. will cross incredible red lines. And when I say the U.S., I mean Israel as well. Israel cannot do any of this without the bombs that we give them and the planes that they use to fly over territory, which we give them basically access to. We ask Saudi Arabia if they can use their airspace and stuff like that. So this is not new. And I'm really at a loss for why anybody is negotiating with really any Western group at this point. It just truly makes no sense. We saw Russia try to negotiate, and they lost a number of strategic bombers in a year-long planned operation that unfolded directly during negotiations. Again, the U.S. using negotiations for alternative motives. And then today, we see the Israelis strike in Doha, Qatar, Doha, Qatar, however you pronounce it. Which is the capital city. This is a U.S. ally in the region. This is not Iran. This is not Syria. This is not Lebanon. This is not any of those other countries that are not allied with the United States. This is Qatar. This is a U.S. vassal, if you want to call it, in the Arab region. Just not a place that Israel should be bombing without giving them a heads up, right? And according to the Qatari foreign ministry, there was no heads up given. The U.S. apparently tried to call and give them a heads up literally as the bombs were landing. And the goal of this strike was to eliminate chief Hamas diplomats. I don't know what you'd call them exactly. They were the negotiating team for Hamas in Qatar. They were not killed in this strike. So not only did the Israelis violate Qatar's sovereignty, not only did they conduct a military operation in the capital of Qatar, but they also failed to achieve their, operational goals in eliminating these Hamas leaders, as well as striking a residential area where the Hamas leaders were staying. So this crosses so many lines. It's actually abysmal. I can't believe that just I know that the United States makes up a majority of what you would call the international community, vocally at least, and when it comes to international law and stuff, the U.S. has always been the side pushing that while never actually adhering to it. But it is crazy to me that we are just getting away with as much. We're getting away with as much criminal activity as we are. And again, I know that the U.S. has had a long track history of this, but specifically when it comes to Israel, and Israel since October 7th, 2023, has been one of the largest liabilities that I've ever experienced in my own personal viewing of global geopolitics. Like, I've never seen a country act so aggressively, just almost for no visible reason. And that's really what it appears like Israel is doing right now. And again, I don't mean to say that Israel is acting alone, because I don't think they're acting alone. But I also tend to believe that there are some operational directions that the Israelis would like to take that the U.S. would not like to take. And I've been talking to some people about this over the past couple of hours. And particularly when it comes to the genocide of the Palestinians and the annexation of Gaza and the West Bank, I really don't think the U.S. is on board with that. I think that the U.S. is in a position, and U.S. politicians are in a position where they're either being paid or blackmailed, so they go along with continuing to arm Israel and stuff like that. But I personally don't see how the ethnic cleansing of Gaza or the West Bank suits U.S. interests at all. I don't really see how it suits Israeli interests outside of the whole greater Israel idea. It's just going to continue to put them in a worse position where everybody around them is going to just hate them more and more and more. And maybe that's exactly what they want, because that's exactly how they're acting, as if they want it that way. But it does seem that some of the actions now that the Israeli government is undertaking seem to be more sovereign almost, and that the U.S. is sort of just kind of on board because we are being blackmailed or paid off to be on board with it. But really, it doesn't suit anybody's interests, even the Israeli interests. So we'll see what comes of this. I don't expect any major changes to happen. But again, a whole new set of issues has just been created with this Israeli strike. The U.S. claims to have not known about it ahead of time. They were told about it last minute. They immediately tried to call Qatar last minute. As I said, Qatar got the warning as the bombs dropped, so not really a warning at all. It's just a mess down there right now, and it's only going to get worse. And again, as I've been saying, the idea of Israel does support U.S. interests, right? Having a forward operating base in the Middle East, having a nation that can act as a plausible deniability actor in the region, right? Israel can do what they want, and the U.S. just says, we had no idea Israel was going to do that. We're just giving them all of their money and intelligence and bombs and everything. But we had no idea that they were going to be doing that, right? That's not exactly like what I'm saying. I believe that. Let me. How do I put this? I believe that in the beginning, we had an idea that this was going to go a certain way, and now it's gotten to the point where it's gone so long, it's gone way too far, and it's created so many new issues that this is now detracting from U.S. Policy goals in the region, right? Especially when you start striking states that are a part of the Abraham Accords and stuff like that. That's a really, really bad move regionally. And I just don't think this is going to pay off for Israel in any way. And it appears to be the only goal of this whole operation for Israel was to get Hamas to not negotiate. And again, that doesn't suit U.S. interests. That suits Israeli interests, right? The U.S. wants the genocide to stop, but it wants to continue controlling the entire region. I do believe that that is the U.S. position. Now, are we going to tell the Israelis to stop? No, because then we would have to acknowledge what they're doing. And if we acknowledge that what they're doing, then we are sponsoring what they're doing actively. So there's a bunch of nuance there, but that's sort of the way it appears to me, at least, in the direction that the U.S. is trying to pull things, and the opposite direction that the Israelis are trying to pull things. All right. Sorry, that was a little bit of a rant. I have some stuff to talk about too, along with this, but all right. So we have some conversations to have about. Hey, be quiet. Dog barking at something. All right. So Israel has ordered a evacuation of the entire city of Gaza. So this is different from the other evacuations where it was moved to the south or moved to the north of Gaza. This is a complete evacuation from Gaza. This is the beginning of the setup of the complete ethnic cleansing and genocide of this region of Gaza. This will not be constrained to only Gaza. This will spread to the West Bank, and this will become major issues internationally here very soon, because they have to figure out somewhere to put these Palestinians, right? They're not going to have housing. They're not going to have infrastructure. So where are all of these Palestinians going to go? This is going to become a major issue here in the next coming months. And I don't know how they're going to solve it. I really don't know what the plan is. And I swear, if all of these Palestinians end up coming to America or going to Europe, that I'm going to be so livid, because this is exactly what destroyed Europe through 2010 to 2020, was the massive amounts of foreign immigration via refugee status from places like Syria and stuff like that. So this is, again, just setting up for another disaster in either the United States or Europe, because where are they going to send them? They're talking about sending them to Libya, an active war zone. That's a genocide. You can't send people to an active war zone. Somalia isn't even a state, so you're going to send them there. There's no good, clear option for the Israelis in terms of getting rid of the Palestinian people. And that's gonna raise major issues here shortly. So Israeli military evacuation orders triggers panic in Gaza City. Palestinians living in the ruins of Gaza City were bombarded with Israeli leaflets on Tuesday, ordering them out, after Israel said it was about to obliterate the area in an assault to wipe out Hamas, causing panic and confusion. Hamas's arm wing, the Al-Qassam brigades, on Tuesday claimed responsibility for the shooting that killed 6 people on the outskirts of Jerusalem. The previous day, Israel said it would demolish the homes of residents of the attackers' villages in the occupied West Bank. So, collective punishment. Somebody commits a crime and you go in and you're just going to destroy the houses of the families. That's a war crime again. And so, this again is just not going. There is nowhere for these people to go, and to just drop leaflets and say you need to leave is, again, it's just another addition to the genocide argument at hand. These people don't have money, they don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have medicine, and you're asking them to just leave and just go camp down south? How is that ever going to work? It's not. Residents of Gaza City, home to 1 million Palestinians before the war, I believe it was more than 1 million, have been expecting an onslaught for weeks since the Israeli government devised a plan to deal Hamas a fatal blow in what it says are the group's last strongholds. Not only are they the group's last strongholds, they are the last livable places in Gaza City. So, of course, the Israeli government is going to go in and level that entire place, and all of those people are going to have nowhere to go. I say to the residents of Gaza, take this opportunity to listen to me carefully. You have been warned. Get out of there. Genocide. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Trump was like, hey, listen, all of the people of the city of Chicago, I know that you guys can hear me. You need to get out of this city right now before we level it. It's just crazy. It's just like, what? How are people supposed to do that? How are you going to put people in that position to just leave? You've been starving them for over a year, and they're just supposed to pack up their nothing belongings and move. Like, yeah, it's sick. It's very sickening. The Israeli military airdropped leaflets with evacuation orders on residents standing amid the rubble, who say there is no safe place to go. Some say they would have no choice but to leave for the south, but many said they would stay there where no immediate signs of and there were no immediate signs of mass exodus. These people have no options. They have nowhere to go. And you know what you do when the people have nowhere, you know what you've created when the people have nowhere to go and nothing worth living for? You've created thousands of martyrs. Thousands of people who are going to hate you, and you're either going to have to bomb them to death, which is not a good look, and you're going to have to slaughter them, or worst case scenario, they start fighting back, and then you have to slaughter them in a way that is almost even worse, just because there's no means of fighting back against an F-35 and stuff. So it's just overall a very poor situation, and it's only going to get worse. I think Israel is now acting even more aggressively because they're running out of time and options. They need to finish up Gaza. They need to continue to keep Iran down. There's so many moving parts right now, and they just have to keep everything in check. Or else it's just going to spiral out of control. And this strike on Doha really does appear like a huge mistake. It does. I don't think anything's necessarily going to, like I said, there's not going to be any repercussions that you're going to directly notice. But I think that everybody is now looking at U.S. diplomacy and just saying no. There's just no point in doing diplomacy with the U.S. unless you're an Iranian, and then if you're an Iranian, you just signed a new extension to your IAEA deal where they get to come in and look at all the nuclear facilities that they just bombed. So whatever, I don't know. Iran's full of fucking retards, so. You can't fix stupid. And I don't know how long I've been saying this to you guys, but there is absolutely no ability to negotiate with the United States. I don't care what nation you're from. I don't care what peoples you are from. You are not better than anybody else. You are not preferable to anybody else in our eyes. You are all the same. You are all the same. You are a means to an end. You are a tool, or you are a obstacle. That's the only way we see anybody outside of our tightly knit international community, right? Even the European states, we don't look at them the same way. So why would we think that Arab states are going to ever be equal partners? Ever? This is the whole like diplomat mindset that I was talking about. It feels like these people get into a place of complacency and invincibility where they think that nothing can happen to them because they are an elected official of a sovereign nation, and that's the end of it. And that's just not the rules that the other team plays by at all. We'll kill anybody anywhere at any given time because of opportunity. We've demonstrated that time and time again. We demonstrated that with the spiderweb operation when we were negotiating. We showed it with the North Korean operation that was just leaked by the New York Times. We did it with the Iranians on multiple occasions, right? We killed the Hamas negotiator in Tehran. Israel striked Iran multiple times. Israel started a 12-day war with Iran. Again, happened. The U.S. during negotiations in that 12-day war secretly flew bombers over and struck Iran's nuclear facilities, Qatar and Hamas were just negotiating and coming very, very close to agreeing on a ceasefire proposal for Gaza. And then Israel tries to assassinate those negotiators. I just truly do not get the immense level of stupidity of foreigners towards U.S. actions and U.S. interests and what we will do to get ahead. We will finish all of you off. Anybody who's not an American listening to this, like I said, you are just an obstacle in the way of our foreign policy goals. You are not a friend. You are not an ally. We do not care about you. You are not different from the people next to you. Your brown skin isn't any less brown skin than the other brown skins, right? We don't care. And I don't mean me. I mean the U.S. foreign policy beast that will destroy your nation at a hat's drop because. That's what I mean. You know, the Chinese are not any different than the Japanese. They're not any different than the Koreans, right? To the U.S., they're all the same. They're all the same. I don't get the incompetence when it comes to people dealing with the United States. I will never understand that. Let's see. Don't forget, guys, if you have questions, you can get questions in. Will Qatar strike back? I doubt they will, but can. No, they will not. Fuck no. No. Every state around Israel is a cuck state, and they will not ever do anything because the repercussions against them will be horrible. You're dealing with a nuclear armed and nuclear protected hegemonic colony that can act as savagely as they want to and never be punished. Whereas if you act savagely in return, the whole world will be brought down on you. So no, do not expect any retaliation from Qatar. I don't understand how anyone trusts the U.S. or Israel in any way. Yeah, me neither. Me neither, pal. I don't either. It's frustrating, too, because we should be trustworthy. And we could be ruling the world with a soft fist. That's the thing, is we don't have to be doing this clown shit to get ahead. We could just be dominating. Geographically, we should be dominating. In terms of where we were 50 years ago, we should be absolutely crushing. And we're just not. And it's unfortunate. All right, now I have another thing that we're just going to talk about the Qatar strike real fast. Another, oh wait, did I click on the same one twice? Hold on. I thought I had a different one. No, that was it. Okay, but that's enough about Israel for now. That's 30 minutes on Israel, so. AMK is reporting Garen's 20 kilometers deep into Polish airspace. Let me go ahead and take a look at that. It's very possible. I think the drones. Oh, yeah, it says unconfirmed reports that Poland has downed 2 Russian drones. Oh, interesting. Two Russian Garen drones look like they flew into Polish airspace, which happens frequently. They fly along the border. All right. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and talk about this real fast. So we have more news from Southeast Asia. Protests against Nepal's social media ban grow more violent as demonstrators set fire to buildings. So it does appear that Nepal is now in the midst of a full-scale uprising. It does look like the younger generation came out in force. It's always the young generation who's the most easily manipulated by foreign entities. So anytime you see a Maidan or anything like that happening, usually it's the young population. They tend to get riled up the easiest. They have the most time on their hands. They're the most aggressively political, and they are also the easiest to bribe and trick and manipulate. This is how it's been forever. You always want 18-year-olds fighting your wars for you because you can just send them in a direction and they go. Protests are no different. It's just a large groupthink activity. And particularly, it's very interesting how there has been very little of any of this sort of events happening in Southeast Asia. And then as soon as the US starts pivoting, right? I talked about this like in February of this year. The US is going to start pivoting to China. Now we're starting to see all of the popular uprisings happening in the Southeast Asian region. Don't let this fool you. These are not organic. They are not natural. I honestly, personally do not believe that there is any riots or uprisings anymore that are natural. I believe that most countries have far too much control over everything. And this is a prime example. The reason why Nepal's government is trying to ban social media is because the social media platforms are being used to organize and instigate these uprisings, right? This is not, again, this is not something new. This regularly happens. And so by banning it, you get a reason for everybody to be out in the streets, but they were already planning on being out in the streets originally. This has been a fomenting issue in Nepal. It is, like I said, it's not going to go away. And it's not, if you think it's really just because of a social media ban and that these people are out dying in the streets because of that, I think you're a fool. Just like if you think people were dying in the streets of Ukraine because they were so unhappy with the Ukrainian government, I think you're a fool. I think that those people, I mean, some of them might have been fooled into thinking that, but they were there at the behest of the US State Department. They were there at the behest of the CIA. They were working for Western interests, not Ukrainian interests. And that's very clear. Same thing can happen in Nepal. If they overthrow the government in Nepal, you will see the exact same things happen, and it will end the exact same way for the Nepalese people. I don't know if that's how you say it, but Nepal is to China what Ukraine or what Ukraine or Georgia is to Russia, I believe you meant. I don't know if it's that impactful, but again, it's not about necessarily using Nepal as a weapon against China. It's about creating general instability along the entire border, which bogs down the Chinese and forces them to invest in border issues instead of dominating the world issues, right? This is exactly what we saw with Russia. Chechnya, Ukraine, both used in the, or Chechnya, I'm sorry, Georgia and Ukraine, both used in the same way. Both used to levy sanctions to increase pressure on Russia. And then Ukraine in 2022 specifically saw the Russians get overinvested, bogged down, and then they lost Syria, right? So these are the kind of things that go on. And, you're looking at one area and you might see, some uprisings in Nepal. And you might think, oh, that's nothing, that's unrelated. But what if this leads to a weakness somewhere else that can be exposed by the West? What if this becomes a major problem and the Chinese have to get involved or something of that nature? Like this is what I mean by fomenting chaos and then improvising chaos and then capitalizing on that chaos. Sorry, couldn't think of the word capitalizing. Good God. All right, so just more upset turmoil in the Southeast Asian region, which is fully what I expected and what I told you guys months ago. Don't be surprised when Cambodia, Thailand, the Philippines, all of these different places start causing problems and issues start forming out of nowhere in what seems like natural uprisings and demonstrations. It's never natural. It always has to be organized. It always has to be funded, and it always has to be managed. Like that's how it works. These stupid teenagers in countries like Ukraine, Georgia, Nepal, Indonesia, etc., actually think the U.S. government cares about. This is exactly what I said. No, and but here's the thing: it's not just the kids. It's not just the kids. It's also the diplomats of these regions, the people who are put in place by the U.S. or think that they are able to talk to the U.S. are no different than these retarded kids that you're talking about. They all think that they are somehow better. They think that they deserve better. They think that they, are going to actually get something better from aligning themselves with the United States against their own national interests and their own interests, let alone their national interests. It's nothing new. This is what I was just talking about. You have the Iranians still talking to the IAEA after their nuclear sites got bombed. How thick in the fucking skull do you have to be? Just eat the sanctions. Just take the fucking sanctions. Who cares? You have Russia, you have China. That's just move in that direction. Stop pretending like you are part of the global order when you're not. And the other side won't give you the respect that comes with that. There's no point. You're just welcoming a slap in the face every time you walk up like this. Let's go. Let's go do it. Let's get it over with every single time. It makes no sense. It's so frustrating sitting here as just an American and being like, don't negotiate with us. We are bad. We are going to take advantage. We are going to kill you in your sleep while you're negotiating with us. I promise you. And then they still negotiate with us, and then we still bomb them. So stupid. Scott isn't wrong about the IAEA. Have I been wrong about anything? Like I people keep saying, hey, Scott, you're right about this or right about that. I feel like I consistently just take the right position in everything because I don't have a position in anything. I don't give a fuck what happens. I'll just literally tell you what is going on to the best of my ability without putting anything else into it. Because for me, I don't care about Iran. I don't care about Israel or Palestine. These things are very terrestrial to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't want people suffering. I don't want any of that. I don't want to be culpable in a genocide or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to die. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to be gone, and the world's just going to keep moving on without me. So from my perspective, none of it really matters. Nobody will remember what I'm saying in 100 years. Nobody will remember you in 100 years. Nobody will really even talk about what's going on now in 100 years, unless there's some completely historically relevant event that is occurring right now. Genocides happen all the time. Nobody talks about the Rwandan genocide. Nobody talks about the Armenian genocide anymore. Those things fade from history. They just move on. So yeah. I don't think I'm really ever wrong about anything because I never take a hardline position. I never force all of my narratives to align with each other. Like my narratives when it comes to the US, Israel, Iran are all solo based off of that. I don't have to make things fit into a certain niche. And that's why I will never be popular. That's why I will never be accepted onto TV shows and stuff like that, because I'm never going to tell people what they want to hear, right? I'm never going to be sitting here getting paid a ton of money because I'm telling you that Israel's the good guys and Hamas is the bad guys and they're under every building, right? That's what people want to hear, or some people want to hear. There's some people that want to hear that Israel is the greatest terrorist organization on the planet and that Hamas are the freedom fighter resistant heroes. I'm not going to tell you that bullshit either because it's not reality. Right. So I don't think I'm wrong very often because I just sit back and just logically come to a conclusion on a topic. And usually that conclusion is nothing extreme. It's actually quite depressing and lame. All right. I think I'm kind of done with all the things that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, Nepal. Nothing really new going on in Ukraine. I did have a couple of things that I wanted to show you guys. Some interesting things from the last strike day that I actually did not talk about. I will show you some of those because there were some interesting targets in the last strike in Ukraine. So I will take you over and we can look at that now. So the Korykov railway bridge over the Dnieper River in Kremenchuk was hit multiple times. The bridge's suspensions were struck. Early morning. There's one. And here comes the second one. So the bridge was struck twice. This is a new event that we have not seen. The bridge is getting struck with Garin 2 drones. So there's the second one. And you can see what was struck. About a dozen Russian drones entering Poland. Huh? Hold on, guys. Hold on. It says 8 drones have confirmed to have entered Polish airspace. 2 have been shot down. 1 alleged impact. Oh my goodness. What's going on? Why are all the drones entering Polish airspace? That's crazy. All right. So the suspension on this bridge was taken out. This is a bridge that can be raised for water traffic. Also, the railway portion of this bridge was struck. It's not clear how much damage was done, but as you can see, the building on top is completely gone. The suspension cover is completely destroyed. And then down here, you can see some damage to the railway road surface. So there was some impacts. And then here you can see the damage to the road surface right here, which is not probably actual damage, but just debris. The Trapiskia power plant in Kiev was also targeted in this strike. So this is energy infrastructure strikes now that we're talking about. The plant was hit by at least 10 Garin 2 drones. Some of these videos are not as good as other ones. There you go. So a few strikes. Additionally, Ukraine has been focused on the Donetsk region. We've seen HIMARS be used against the city of Donetsk recently. This includes strikes on civilian buildings for the most part, is what it looks like. The other day, did I not save it? Yeah. The other day, Ukrainians also used Storm Shadow cruise missiles and jet drones to attack Donetsk. And here you can see those strikes occurring inside of Donetsk. No idea what the target was, probably Russian military related, but interesting to see the Ukrainians using Storm Shadow cruise missiles on Donetsk, as it's not a very target-rich environment at the current moment. I mean, like in terms of like changing the war, you would expect if they're going to do these strikes, they would do them on a PR target somewhere where it would be seen. But this was very slow news, and they used a decent number of Storm Shadows for the strike. It could also be that this is the best option for a successful strike that the Ukrainians have, seeing that Russian air defense, layered Russian air defense deeper into Russia would make launching cruise missiles in that direction more difficult. All right. that is it for me today, guys. Yeah, I'm done. So if you guys have some questions, go ahead and get some questions in. I am going to probably just hang out for a little bit and update you guys on this whole Poland situation. Yeah, I think that the drones are just flying over Polish territory. I think that's it. That's nothing new either. I think they're just sort of making a big deal out of that right now. So I would not be overly worried about the whole Poland thing. I did comment on the Nepal situation. Again, just like any other situation, I believe that it's organized and planned. I don't think that this is just a spur of the moment thing. I think that there's a very clear reason why the government of Nepal is trying to ban social media apps that are probably being used to organize and orchestrate all of this. And this is why you just have to be very careful about getting Western NGOs into your country because, well, any NGOs, but Western NGOs in particular, because they will organize demonstrations and foment coups in your country, especially when you're neighbors with the superpower that the U.S. is now focused on defeating. That would be China. You should be very, very aware that you might be getting used by the West for their interests and not for your interests. But yes, you can go back into the earlier segment and I talked more about it. Rewind. They said they hit something inside of Poland. I don't think so. I don't think that there's been any strikes inside of Poland. I think that there was probably some drones shot down and that those are being confused for strikes. The Russians don't get anything from striking anything in Poland, and there's nothing immediately over the Polish border worth striking anyway. So that doesn't make sense. Also, using a Garen 2 drone to do it is like, it just doesn't make any sense. Show us my dog. Which one? I have only one upstairs with me right now. Atlas, come here. Come here. He's lazy and old and fat. Hey, come here. Come here. Oh, wait, there's another one over here too. Come here, Sammy. This is Sammy. She's a good girl. Oh, say hi to the people. She's a husky mix, husky German Shepherd mix, and she's super annoying. Barks at me all the time. Huh. She's getting all roughy right now. Question. Do you think the military of Belarus will ever become directly involved in the conflict? I find it strange how they have been a long time. There's just no point. There's just no point in getting them involved. Atlas, come here. Atlas, come here. Come here. There's just no point in them getting involved, right? Nope, this side, Atlas. Come over here. Atlas, this way. Go over this way. This way, you have to come around. The cord's right there. You're going to pull the cord out. Sorry. There's no point in Belarus getting involved, right? If Belarus gets involved, they're just asking for stuff that doesn't need to come their way, attention that doesn't need to come their way. They don't really want to be they don't want to be party to the conflict. They are there to support the Russians. But again, the more they get involved, the more the whole conflict will escalate just by nature. So no, I do not think that they're going to get involved. And really, there's not a reason for them to get involved. This is the whole narrative is that this is the Russians protecting Russians, not Belarusians protecting Ukrainians, right? That's not it doesn't really make sense. I saw a video where Al-Jawlani's troops went into a hospital and killed all the hospital staff. Is this true? Yeah, well, they're HTS. They're literally Al-Qaeda. So they have done multiple massacres against the Druze, against former Assad loyalists and stuff like that. Yeah, they've been killing a lot of people. So it is very realistic and possible. Here. Oh, I can't get my other dog to get over here. He's an old lazy dog. So I still don't understand why the bridges have not been destroyed yet, because they're very hard to destroy. I don't think you guys quite understand what it would take to bring down one of those bridges, and how many munitions would need to be focused, and then what that would actually mean for the overall logistic situation for the AFU. I don't think it changes that much because you take down some bridges. So it's going to be very cost heavy, and then it might not even continue. Yeah, the genocide of the Alawites. Yeah, that's the other one. Thank you. The Druze and the Alawites. Love these updates. Story you mentioned in the last stream seemed weird. The Danish mine clearing crew getting hit. They were clearing mines in an active war zone without clear markings. Yeah, it was very odd. I don't know why they were operating in that region. I don't know why they were operating in that region without clear markings. If they would have had clear markings on the top of their vehicles, I doubt they would have been struck. It appears, I hate to say this, but it appears sort of intentional to place them there. This is obviously a frontline position. This is obviously an area where Russian reconnaissance drones are flying 24/7. And this is an area where the Ukrainians like to launch drones from. So demining a random field outside of Chernihiv in unmarked white vans is definitely not a Darwin Award winner in terms of your survival. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Whoever is in charge of that should be in a lot of trouble for getting people killed, honestly. Not that the Russians don't bear any responsibility, but you know, how are you supposed to differentiate a one white van from another white van in a military situation? It's why we don't use civilian vehicles for military actions, because civilians might get fucking killed. It's why you don't use ambulances. It's why you don't use fire trucks. It's why you don't use anything. Sarah from DD said she investigated and found them to be associated with weapons manufacturers or something, probably out there doing real life trials on equipment. Who? No Oreshnik tonight. No, I don't know why everybody's so obsessed with it. There's no need to use that. 8 Iskanders are cheaper than 1 Oreshnik, and they do this. The 8 Iskanders will do way more damage. So I just don't get the fascination. It is big missile, so I get all the monkeys wanting to see big missile. But outside of that, it doesn't do anything other than send a message that nobody's going to listen to. So no, I do not think you're going to see an Oreshnik launch tonight. It's too close to the Russian border, less than 50 miles. That's a buffer zone. Demine. Yeah, well, first off, you're demining an area where the Russians are still using cluster munitions to strike targets. So, I mean, it's not like you're going to be actually able to demine unless they were out there demining Ukrainian mines, which by nature, if they're demining Ukrainian military mines, because I don't think they were demining Russian military mines. If you are demining and in that area, that is a military action in demining, right? I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that. And then if you're doing so in an unmarked manner, I mean, how are you supposed to differentiate a Ukrainian soldier demining and a Ukrainian volunteer demining under a Danish org? Hell, those might have been, I mean, who knows how to demine? Can we just ask who in Ukraine knows how to demine? Anybody? Sappers, usually. Former military or active military. Those are the people who usually know how to demine. So you're talking about a bunch of Ukrainians that are working for a Danish organization that all have sapper training, demining under the guise of civilian protection. I don't know how that makes any sense, but yeah. In your opinion, what would it take to stop Israel's streak of aggressiveness? Their internal population would have to turn against the current government. which I don't think is that far off. I think the current government has very, very low approval ratings, and they're basically maintaining themselves by staying in a constant state of war. So I think that everything is holding on very precariously in Israel right now, politically. And the second there's peace, the whole thing falls apart. So they're trying to keep the wars going in perpetuity. What if they were mining? Well, then that is definitely a military action. It's so funny. Everybody's upset about this demining crew yet. Yeah, well, people are not there. There's hypocrites everywhere. That's what you're going to deal with. I call everything as it is. When this strike happened, I openly said that it could very well be a Russian war crime, especially if the Russians had an idea that this was a Danish humanitarian organization. And they struck it on purpose. That would be a war crime. That's no different than what Israel does, right? Even if they are carrying out a military, say, activity-ish, usually demining is put into a peaceful category where you're getting rid of the explosives that can kill people. But still, very stupid idea in the middle of a military conflict on the front line. Would you bet on Zelensky surviving the war? Yeah, I don't think that there's, unless he's killed internally or by like the CIA or something, I don't see why he wouldn't survive. He's got a way out. He's not stuck necessarily. He's not in country ever anyway, so eventually he'll just stay out of country and be living in Tampa or something like Juan Guaido was of Venezuela. Do you think the Ukrainians are using some sort of electronic warfare to guide the Garans into Poland for PR stuff? No. The Russians use Polish airspace all the time for this. They do this regularly. They come straight down, and it's like they're in Ukraine. Here, I'll bring up the map so you guys can kind of see. This is nothing new. Now the number is kind of high, but they're probably just trying to target something. No, that's Prague. Sorry, probably just trying to target something down here in like Lvov or Ivano-Frankivsk region, right? So they come in, the drones come down, they come down this part of the country, and then they barely enter Polish airspace right here in a straight line down to Lvov. That's what's happening. So the drones are in this region most likely, and getting downed or flying over this part of the country. It's not like they're heading to Warsaw or something. Like that's not what's going on. They're flying on a southerly direction towards Lvov or Western Ukraine down here. Never heard of humanitarian deminers. I'm sure there's people who go to former war zones and do demining so that, kids aren't getting their legs blown off and stuff. I think that there definitely could be humanitarian deminers. I don't think that there's a place for humanitarian demining in an active war zone where you are a possible strike target. That doesn't make any sense, but yeah. All right. Let's see. Any new news? Garan 2 drones are now entering Moldovan airspace. I'm just going to sit on this and wait. Yeah, no impacts in Poland. Yeah. They're saying that they're flying through Belarus and heading towards the Warsaw region. Yeah, now this is starting to seem like propaganda. Yeah, this is starting to seem like propaganda to me. I think that the drones are just flying over here and then coming down the western side of the country like they always do. But they're really trying to drum up that Poland, Russia thing. Like that seems what they're really trying to do. because this news is just ridiculous. The Russians are not going for fucking Warsaw. That's so stupid. But people are more interested in excitement. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it does. It doesn't seem like a real thing. It seems like the exact same thing that's been happening throughout the entirety of this war, where the drones basically fly down from Brest through this part of the country to strike the western part of Ukraine. This is a very regular thing. There are constantly drones in Polish airspace during these attacks. So. There was an accusation that attacks on energy facilities southwest of St. Petersburg went through Estonia. This tit for tat. No. Why wouldn't they attack Estonia? Why would they attack Poland? Poland is already pissed at Ukraine. Poland is at the end of their rope with Ukraine. So this doesn't make any sense. Again, if something doesn't suit a country's national interests in any way, shape, or form, it actually detracts from those interests. You can probably assume that you're being lied to, or there's some information that is false to some degree. Usually. I have to say this. I'm surprised YouTube is putting ads on the stream. The ads are on streams to begin with. Why on this stream exactly? What are you saying? What are you implying? What are you implying, good sir? Ads? I didn't put any ads, guys. I'm sorry if you're watching ads. I don't like ads. I don't want you to see ads. That's gee. All right, boys. That's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. We will talk about all of this Poland crap on the next episode, maybe tomorrow. If a lot happens, I'll be doing casual calibration tomorrow. Also tomorrow, be on the lookout. I will be doing a full map update video that is going to be in the video section, not the live stream section. So I'm going to record a video of all the updates. I will then put out that update video, and you guys will be able to just go watch that. And then the live streams will be much more interactive. We'll be talking more about stories and stuff and what's going on, and me just ranting about my opinions. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for tuning in, all 4,486 of you. I appreciate you all so much. Have a fantastic day and be safe. Okay, goodbye.